Hey, gang, and welcome to another edition of Stephen's Kingdom. Tonight, me and Chris, because Chris is soon going to be joining me. I see him backstage right now. We are going to be discussing the Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, Secret Window, and Kingdom Hospital. Uh, but I did remember something that I forgot to remind people of last night. And, it's one of those things that just as you're drifting off to sleep, you're like, dang it, I forgot to tell people that. So, Candace and I have decided to do another Vicious Vinyl Collecting and More show this Friday for Friday Foolish. So, barring anything happening, that is what we're planning on doing. And I know Mayor expressed an interest in coming in live on the stream to show some stuff off. If anybody else wants to join us for that, just let me know, or you can wait until the day of and say, hey, by the way, I need that link because I want to come in and show some stuff off. And we'd be glad to have you on. Got a full schedule of things upcoming, including a couple of watch alongs. And just so I don't have to bore people with saying what's coming up every time, I've created the handy little schedule that you can now watch usually at the beginning of my live streams, if I remember, about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes before I go on. I set that to play so you can tune in early and check out what's coming up the rest of the week. Um, I noticed that Wes came in here and said, what the hell, when I was playing the schedule. And I told him, you got to have the schedule show what's coming up. So, I'm doing a little advertising for the channel. You can also check out the schedule on my actual channel. If you go to the Deadites on Deck channel, you can check all of that out. And I guess that's probably all for the announcements. Hey, Blair. So I'm going to go ahead and get Chris on here, and we're going to get started with these movies. Hey, Chris.
Hey Dana, how's it going?
Good. I had a hectic day at work. I was
Oh,
telling
you too?
I
Yeah, I
was
had
telling Candace all about it.
yeah, mine was kind of hectic as well, I guess you could say. Which normally Mondays are for me,
Mm,
because the call center I work for, they're not open on the weekends.
I see.
So like when you come back on Monday morning, there's going to be a whole queue full of these people, like trying to get in, get answers from you. So
Mm. Now, the problem we had today was generally Mondays are busy for us too. But our print server went down and stayed down most of the day. And Smile Doctors is the only company I've ever worked for that if a problem is system wide, as in none of the orthodontic clinics could print, but they didn't know that. They thought, well, we're the only ones. So they would either put in a ticket or call or both. But it was widespread. So I don't know why somebody didn't think, gee, it would be a good idea to just send out this system wide email and
yeah,
let
yeah,
everybody know it's system wide. We're working on it.
yeah. You would think so. Yeah, um my job, that's happened several times before. Like we've had like system wide issues. And they still expect us to take calls and stuff, but the thing is though, when our systems are down, we're having system wide issues, all we can do on those calls at that time is just tell them that our systems are down and to call back later. So and I mean that helps our like call volume go down and or whatever, but still, like it's aggravating to do that, like to do that over and over and over and over. Like
Yeah,
just
and you probably have some people be like, well, why can't you help me? Why can't you do this?
Yeah, we do get stuff like that, but just I apologize. It's out of our control right now, just because it is a system wide issue. We do apologize, and just have to just thank them for calling, and they can give us a call back later or whatever.
Well, in addition to that, our phone system went down, the talk desk went down, and
Dang.
people couldn't hear us on the calls and we couldn't hear them. And it's like, okay, we got a double whammy today because we couldn't even handle half the calls that we got today because of that. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Um, but hey, Blissful says hi to me and Chris.
Hey,
And
Blissful.
Blair, I would consider doing a follow up interview with Wayne Johnson. Um, if Blissful could get Wayne to come on again because he was well, I guess he still is her friend. So um, I would leave that up to Blissful to ask him, about his schedule and all that.
Are they in any relation to Dwayne Johnson?
I don't think so, but that would be cool if he was. Okay, thanks, Blissful. I appreciate that.
So I learned something pretty cool today, Dana. Considering we did that ET watch along last night. So I mentioned him actually yesterday during the watch along. I called him Michael Demerit, but his name's Matthew Demerit, and I told you he was the actor that was the suit actor for ET in some scenes.
Oh yeah.
Well, it turns out that yesterday was his birthday, so it was. I guess you could say it was ET's birthday on the day we did the ET watch along.
Oh wow, that is really cool. I couldn't have worked that out better myself.
And then to beat that, today is Earth Day. And that's basically like it's like a planet. The planet is full of like plants and stuff that ET's from. So I just that's so ironic. I was like, it's a huge coincidence. I know, but like it's crazy.
I don't know how that happened to work out just so in sync like
Well,
that.
when I learned all that, I was thinking, did Dana plan that?
No, Dana's not that lucky. I'm also not that creative, but hey, Candace said she was going to try to join in the chat tonight. Um, So I guess we'll go ahead and get started talking about the movies. I was too lazy to go dig out some of my physical copies of them because they're primarily what I've got on DVD, and DVD is way back in the back room where the snake and the guinea pigs and the iguana are at. And I was like,
Where the zoo is. Yeah,
where part of the zoo is, yeah.
yeah, we have one of those rooms in our house too. I call it the zoo. So
Yeah, we actually have a camera back there because we have to crate a couple of the dogs whenever we leave. Reggie and Sammy have to be crated, otherwise they destroy the house.
oh,
And
how about that?
so, so we like to watch them on a little wise camera when we're gone, just to make sure they're doing okay and stuff like that. So I've named that camera the Mini Zoo camera.
Yeah, I remember when you guys were at Horror Hound. Steve had that camera pulled up on his phone, and I was checking that out with him. And I was like, man, I think me and Kenneth need to get some of those for our house too, so we can keep an eye on our dogs.
Yeah, when you're miles and miles away, I don't know what we would do exactly, but if there was,
But yeah, I mean, there's like instances like where like me and Cancer said that same thing, and I said, well, at least we got like your mom or your brother, to kind of come check on the dogs for us every now and then while we're like when we're on a trip or something somewhere. And but I said, but I told her. I said we need to figure out like a different plan because we may not have it. May be that case one day where we don't have somebody to to watch, come check on our dogs, or or anything, or they because they may be doing something, or or whatever. Um, so yeah, we definitely need a plan B.
Yeah, I mean, in a pinch, I could have my neighbor Kim come over and check things out because I
Mhm.
trust her, and we've told her where our hide key is and all that, so she could get in the house if she needed to, or she'd send her son over, Damon, to check on things. Uh, but anyway, I guess the first movie we'll talk about is The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, which is technically a kind of
Prequel?
prequel to Rose
Yep.
Red,
Yeah.
which if you listen to me talk about Rose Red when Uncle Bill was on here,
Mhm.
when I talked about that one, I wasn't a real big fan of Rose Red. Um, I, People might disagree with me on this, but Rose Red, The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, and Kingdom Hospital, which I'm also going to talk about tonight, or we're going to talk about tonight, don't seem like full blooded Stephen King stories to me. Now, let me ask your opinion, Chris. What do you think? Like with that Diary of Ellen Rimbauer and Rose Red, what do you think?
Well, I don't think I'm gonna have much of an opinion on it because I've actually never seen Diary of Ellen Rimbau or Rose Red, but I know what they are. I know what they're about. Um, and I know that the Diary of Ellen Rimbauer is a prequel to
Yep.
Rose Red, and I think it's just about like because the in Rose Red. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like kind of focused around like this mansion, right?
Yeah, yeah, and Ghost and stuff like that. It has
Mhm.
a real good theme to it.
And from what I understand in the Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, it's like sort of the beginnings of like the I guess they're like building the mansion and stuff that's in Rose Red,
Hmm.
and from what I understand, like it also kind of is like I guess maybe the origins of the ghosts that are in Rose Red.
Yeah.
I Yeah, I just did a little bit of research on them because, like, I had planned to watch them at some point, and that's just is pretty much that's about all I know about. But I want to eventually try to sit down and watch those.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'll give a little plot synopsis for the Diary of Ellen Rimbauer.
Mhm.
Um, Basically, it is the wife of an old tycoon becomes engrossed in the sinister evil residing within her Seattle mansion home. And so the writers on this one are Stephen King and Ridley Pearson.
Mhm.
Now, that's the thing. Sometimes when Stephen King writes with other people, like Peter Straub, for instance. He
Right.
wrote several books with Peter Straub. And when he writes with his sons, I think it works with them. I think it worked masterfully with Peter Straub. Um, but sometimes it feels like to me that there wasn't an equal partnership. And by that, I don't mean that one of the writers took over and didn't let Stephen King do anything. It
Right.
just doesn't, it seems like it's more of the other person's work than it is a Stephen King work. And I could be wrong about that, but they just, those particular stories did not really sit well with me. I didn't enjoy them. I didn't get engrossed in them and get lost in them like I did the pure Stephen King stuff. Um,
I can kind of see that what you're saying, like because I've always kind of got like the vibe from Stephen King, like uh, when he wants to work on a story. I
mhm,
mean, he just wants to put, all that he has in him in that. But if he has to work with another writer on one story, then he feels like, well, I should just kind of give a little bit of what I can give here and just let it focus on the other writer. I
mhm,
feel like he's the type of person that would really want to put, people in that same kind of profession
right.
before him. And then that way he can just kind of do his own thing when it's just his story. Uh,
Mhm,
and you mentioned his son, like Joe Hill. Has
mhm.
he ever? like work together on a story with Joe Hill, or do you know?
Well, I know his other son he has worked with.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm trying to remember if he's actually done something with him.
Well,
Uh,
the only thing I can think of right off is not really. It wasn't a story, but Joe Hill played the little boy in Creep Show.
yeah.
Um, but as far as anything outside of that, I'm not sure. I am a fan of Joe Hill stuff, though. I mean,
Oh, yeah, his stuff is really, really good.
yeah, he did. Is my introduction to his writing and everything was through this comic book that he did called Lock and Key, and I just stumbled across that series one day in our public library, and I checked the first volume of it out. Which was like the first maybe like 6 or 7 issues of the comic,
Mhm.
and it's to this day one of my favorite comic books ever put out. They actually put out a TV series adaptation of it on Netflix,
Uh-huh.
which I think is like it's just 3 seasons, but really good stuff.
Let me see. Gory Tiger's in here. Hey, Gory Tiger, and thank you, Blissful. Blissful always says, please hit the thumbs up. Um, Candace says, I've read the diary of Ellen Rimbauer, My Life at Rose Red. Stephen King went by a pseudonym, she said, unless I'm misremembering. I think you're right, Candace. I think you're right on that.
Yeah, it was a female pseudonym too. I'm pretty sure
That sounds right.
because he had the Richard Bachman, I believe it was the one pseudonym he had,
Yeah.
and Um, I could be just thinking of someone else, but I was thinking he had another pseudonym that went under a female's name, and that's what he how that's what the name he used for the book of Diary of Ellen Rimbauer. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Somebody correct me on that. Fact check that.
Need TJ in here. He's the big fact checker. Uh, Uncle Bill, you say, I don't want to be civil and I don't want to be civil and respectful, Daner. Can I still join the chat? Yeah, Uncle Bill, I trust you. Let me put the link in here real quick so you can, because I always tease Uncle Bill about not having a Facebook anymore, and I can't like send him stuff.
I kind of respect him for that though, Dana,
Yeah, well, I do too.
because Facebook is not a very good thing if you think about it sometimes because it take there's not for me personally, but like I know there's people out there that they get so wrapped up in Facebook and it takes time away from their family and other
Yeah,
things that they're like their hobbies or interests outside of that.
yeah.
And yeah, I've been guilty of that, and I try to not get on there on social media at all as much as I used to because, like, I feel like this time is going by too fast, and I'm missing out on stuff.
I'm sorry, I was just laughing at Uncle Bill. I thought he wanted to come in live, and he was like, "No, I just seen the chat. I've never seen any of these. You ain't
But
even seen Secret Window, Uncle Bill? Well, Chris ain't seen all these either, but
yeah,
he's
the
on here.
only one out of these that I have seen is Secret Window,
Mhm.
um, and I'm pretty excited to talk about when we get to that. I'm pretty excited about that because that's one I did show to my brother-in-law CJ
Mm.
not long ago. He had never seen it, so
That's the one that I'm really gonna focus on too, out of the three. Um, Uncle Bill, you say you've seen Secret Window, but it's been years. Well, if you change your mind, Uncle Bill, I put the link in the chat. Blair said, "Well said, Crater, about social media." So
oh,
he liked what you said
thank
about.
you. I appreciate that.
Ben says, "I haven't seen any of these either." We might be getting down to the ones where people haven't seen a lot of them. Hey, 19 Gardens. 19 Gardens says, "Me neither." Oh,
Yeah, I always remember like the seeing the DVD for Kingdom Hospital though at Walmart all the time,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
just being like this like up close picture of the person's face. I think they have glasses on.
Yeah.
and but that's one I haven't seen either.
Um, so again, there's not a whole lot I can say about the Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, so I'm just going to go ahead and give a rating on it,
Okay.
and I'm not going to give it the lowest rating, but I'm definitely not going to give it the highest rating. So I'm going to give this one 3 deadites out of 5, which I believe is what I gave to Rose Red, somewhere kind of in the middle there.
You know, like, even though I've never seen this film, like it does interest me because it is a prequel, and for some, I don't know why, but I've always had an interest in prequels to films,
Right,
especially if I like the original film very well. Um, but there is one prequel I'm still kind of on the fence about, which you don't really know it's a prequel until the end of the film. But that's the I think it came out in 2011, which was the Thing prequel,
right.
and you know, I don't love that film, but I don't hate it either. There are parts about it that I do like. You know, mostly the ending. I feel like the ending is the best part because you come to that realization. It's like, oh, this is leading into John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
Um, and but is there any like prequels like that you feel that way about?
I'm trying to think here. Chris always asks the really good questions, but I'm never prepared for them. So I'm like, I don't
Well,
know.
that's the best thing about it. You can't be prepared for those kinds of questions.
No, you can't. I'm trying to think of prequels here, and I'm just other than the thing one, I'm just drawing a
What
total.
do you have you seen any of the since Alien Days coming up this Friday? Have you seen any of the Alien prequels like Prometheus or Cut?
Yeah, no, no. See, that's probably the big problem. I probably haven't seen any of the prequels because I haven't seen that
Oh
thing
well,
prequel
you
either.
know I'm a big Alien fan. Pretty much the whole franchise, even the really bad ones, like the Alien versus Predator and stuff like. Which the first I didn't think the first Alien versus Predator was that bad, but second one's kind of odd. But yeah, I suggest those to you, Dana, if you've never seen those.
Okay. I'll have to try to check them out. I'm sure Steve's either got them or he can get them somewhere for me to watch, if you know what I mean.
Uncle Bill says Texas Chainsaw Massacre had a killer prequel, Dana.
Are you kidding, Uncle Bill? I hope so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a
Oh,
sarcastic
yeah,
remark.
that was surely to goodness. Um, but so if we move on to the next one, which I know Chris wants to talk about, and I want to talk about too, is Secret Window with Johnny Depp. Now, I read the story before I saw this one, and I think they did a great job. Now, is it exactly like the story? Well, no, but they never are usually exactly like the story. Um, but I know I'm a glutton for punishment here. If Uncle Bill hears me say that, he'll start that shining business again, and then we'll have to get into that. Um, yes, Blissful. Steve just showed me the. Are you talking about the Deadpool Wolverine trailer? Because Steve just
Yeah,
showed me the Red Band trailer, and I was just
yeah.
laughing.
I watched that today too, and I, I guess this is the first rated R like Marvel Cinematic Universe film. Um, because they said that this I don't think the past two Deadpool films were part of the canon of the MCU, but I think I read they said that this one is it's going to officially bring Deadpool into like the whole MCU with like the Avengers films and all that. But this one's rated R. I think this is the
Yeah.
first, like I said, the first MCU rated R film. And if you watch that Red Band trailer, there's a whole lot of F bombs in that trailer.
That's what I was gonna say. It is used a lot, but it was just like I was like, I'm gonna have so much fun with this movie.
Hmm.
So me and Steve will definitely go to the movies and see that one. And you know what Steve said? He said, I got to get the popcorn bucket. And he said, I bet you the popcorn bucket is Deadpool's ass, and you've got to reach into his ass to get your popcorn out if you have popcorn in it. I was like, what in the world?
That would definitely be in that type of humor for the Deadpool films
Mhm.
and Deadpool in general, but I don't know. I don't think they'll do that.
I wouldn't think that the movie theater would want to do that. So I guess we'll see. Steve says he wants to get one, so we'll find out, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's something that I cannot get Candace interested in is the Marvel movies. Um, which I guess it's an acquired taste for everyone,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of people out there that don't even really like. I don't know. It seems like Uncle Bill has said before that he didn't really care for those like superhero movies and stuff, but I could be wrong. I could be thinking of someone else. But yeah, I really like them. I'm
I'm
but
very selective, I guess is the term that I would use for myself when it comes to superhero movies.
mhm.
Um, I like the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, but I will tell everybody in here, and y'all can say I'm a big whining baby or whatever, but the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I bawled like a baby
Yeah.
in the movie theater. I don't me and Steve was both crying. I don't think
It,
he'll mind me.
well, I tell you, Dana, for the longest time, out of all the Marvel movies, because there's a lot of them now, um, the first Guardians of the Galaxy was my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Now, when I seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that changed because I felt like that was the best one out of the three Guardians of the Galaxy films. And it ended up, it's now my favorite Marvel film
Mhm.
because the whole focus on Rocket's character in that one just, oh man, it's
I
tough.
just yeah, it is so hard to watch, and I was crying. I was looking at Steve, he was crying. We were holding each other's hands and stuff like that, and people can laugh if they want to, but if you have not seen that movie, I dare you to watch that movie all the way through and not have one tear roll down your cheek on that movie. You must have a heart of stone if that don't get to you in some way. But that's why I don't think I'll be able to watch it again because it just broke my heart. Even though it had turned out okay in the
Yeah.
end, that whole last quarter just about did me in
Yeah,
emotion.
and if you've seen all those Guardians of the Galaxy films, then there's several stories going on in those films and they don't leave any loose ends at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They tie all that together. And I know that there's been talks that they're going to do another one, but I'm pretty sure that this last one was the end of that particular team.
Yeah, I think
If
that's what Steve was telling me.
they do another film, then it's going to be a completely different new team from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mhm. Candace says they should have done a Ghostbusters popcorn bucket like that with Slimer's ass. Oh man. And Uncle Bill says I hate the Marvel universe and they can all shit out wieners. So that shows you what Uncle Bill thinks of Marvel. Uh Uncle Bill, I don't know anything about Korean bondage cinema.
I think he just made that up.
Yeah, he said he thought Steve only cried over that. Blair says I cried when they played Dog Days Are Over. Um, but yeah, I mean, You talk about a movie really getting to you. That movie. Well, I'm not saying it's not a great movie. I just don't know when or if I'll ever be able to watch it all the way through again.
Yeah, but
Uncle Bill says, "LOL, I'm dying."
we got a little bit off top of that, but that was still a good conversation. Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that
because
is a
we
good conversation.
because that just derived where you said that when we were talking about Secret Window and how it's not a lot like the book or the story, which you said a lot of those Stephen King adaptations are not really completely like the book or the story.
No, a lot of times whoever's directing it takes it and makes it their own, basically.
But you know something that really appealed to me about this movie after the I watched it all the way through the first time was that I realized that in a lot of ways it's like The Shining.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, really go into my reasons for that because some people may have not seen the film, and I don't want to
Exactly.
give anything away. So, I mean, but I've watched this one multiple times.
I'm sighing at Uncle Bill because I got to read this. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris. He says, "Now, Dana, listen up. According to your shining logic, you will have to hate Secret Window." I did not say that I hated Kubrick's version of The Shining. Are we going to have to get back into this again? I never said that I hated Kubrick's version of The Shining. I said that it was an excellent horror film. It was very well made, but it was not true to Stephen King's original source material. Now, Chris, would you agree with that about
That
Shining, The
about
Shining, the
Kubrick's
Kubrick version
Shining?
of The Shining?
Well, no, it's yeah, I agree with that in what you're saying because it's not like the book at all, but in the miniseries is more closer to the book than what Kubrick's is. But I, as far as like, if I want to choose one of the, I'm going to choose Kubrick's The Shining.
Which is
Uh,
okay. That's perfectly fine. I don't think that's the beef Uncle Bill had with me. He wants me. I know what he wants me to say. He wants me to say that I would choose Kubrick's version of The Shining every damn time to watch, and I can't say that because to me it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I don't think he necessarily wants you to choose. I think he just wants you to choose.
Never, never will I choose. Can't make me, Uncle Bill. Uh, he says the miniseries is closer to the book, so therefore it's killer and yada yada. No, I didn't say that. I said it's closer to the book. I didn't say it was killer. I didn't say it was perfect. But technically, Kubrick's version is not perfect. It might be close to perfect, but it's not entirely perfect. Um,
Have you ever watched that documentary, Dana, called what's it called? Room
oh yeah, yeah,
37, I
I know
think.
what you're talking about. Yeah, Steve and I watched that.
And it kind of like there's these like conspiracy theories in it about like people thinking that Kubrick shot the moon landing, and there's
Hmm.
like all these like subtle hints
Yep,
throughout The Shining of like with like say Danny when he's wearing the Apollo
yep.
like NASA sweatshirt he's got on, and then there's all these other like crazy like things like saying that the room 237 was supposed to be like the room that he shot the moon landing in or something like that. And it's a really interesting documentary though.
Mick Harris, who the heck is that?
Mick Garris.
Okay, I'm just yanking his chain there. I knew what he meant, but anyway, me and Uncle Bill are gonna go on about this stuff till the end of time, probably. Jack Nicholson or Wings guy. Oh my gosh. Um, it's a wonder that video or that stream where me and Uncle Bill were going back and forth on it hasn't skyrocketed through the roof because everybody that was in the chat was just dying.
But he does raise a good question there. Not just if you just don't focus on the two different versions of The Shining, but
Mhm.
he says Kubrick or Mick Garris. Well, it depends on the film. If you're looking at all their films, I would say, uh, because like Mick Garris, he didn't he do Critters too? Because I mean, I know a lot. That's kind of a
Oh,
cheesy
yeah.
one to choose, but uh, I would rather watch Critters 2 any day over 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm not a big
Really? You're
fan
not a
of that
big
film.
fan of that?
Candace loves it,
Mhm.
but I'm
Steve
not a
likes it pretty
big fan
well
of
too.
that.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do for you, Uncle Bill. If you asked me to say who was the better filmmaker, who was the better director, Kubrick or Garris, I would have to say Kubrick.
Yeah, yeah.
He is a better filmmaker than Mick Garris. Uh, and I think almost anybody would agree with that. Now, does that kind of smooth it out a little bit if I say Kubrick's definitely the better filmmaker? Today is Jack Nicholson's birthday, Candace says.
Oh, wow.
How old is Jack Nicholson
Well,
now?
that's so odd because, like I said, because that's where this whole conversation came from. Because I was saying that this movie, Secret Window, it reminded me a lot of way of The Shining. So,
Yeah, and I love to get back to Secret Window a little bit. I love the twists and turns in this, and don't worry, I'm not going to give anything away because this has a really good twist to it. And if I had not read the story first, I don't think I would have seen that twist coming. But I had already read this.
well, I tell you, because I have never read the story at all. I've just seen the film, and you're not kidding. There are so many twists and turns in this, and there's so much going on, and you're wondering throughout the whole film, like why does it keep going to this, and it's focusing on this subplot, and then it goes back, and this there's stuff going on over here at this cabin he's staying at with this guy,
Yeah.
um, and there's like he's being like so he's going through like a divorce over here with his wife or ex-wife,
Hmm.
and then over here it's like this cabin he's like having like writer's block, and then he's like accused of plagiarism,
Yeah.
and then they're going back and forth over here of like who originally wrote the story, and just but
And it becomes more and more, how shall I put it, like sinister as it
yeah.
goes on.
Yeah, and you're watching the movie. If you're just watching it for the first time, you're watching all this. It's like, what does all this have to do with each other? And then, but it all like comes together at the end, and then this big huge twist.
Yeah,
And
and then you're like, "Oh my gosh."
yeah, and and I think that that's probably one of the best parts of the movie because after you watch it a second time, you enjoy the movie more because already know what all's going on now, and it starts to make more sense to you as you've watched it back.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, guys and gals, I got a little distracted. We've got a new window unit air conditioner back here in this back room now, and I was needing it, and then it got a little chilly in here, so I was turning it off. So uh,
Mm.
that's what I was doing, looking at my phone. I was switching it off. Um, Ben, you want to know who has better hair, Mick Garris or Stanley Kubrick? I would probably say, even though everybody or almost everybody says Mick Garris looks like a woman now, um,
Who says that?
he he does. I think he does have better hair than Kubrick, though. Than Kubrick did have.
Well, I mean, Kubrick didn't at his peak. He didn't have much hair anyway. So
No,
uh,
he did.
that not to get off topic again, but I'm curious of what your opinion is on Full Metal Jacket, Dana.
Um, Full Metal Jacket. I have kind of a history with that because that was one of the early movies I remember my dad renting when our family first got a VCR. It was probably one of the first few movies Dad rented, and I don't remember watching it specifically, and my parents didn't tell me I couldn't watch it, but I remember, being really creeped out by those beginning scenes, where Paul, ends up going ape shit,
Yeah.
because of the way he's treated, by good old Arlie Ermy. Uh, and that is so disturbing. Those first few scenes at the beginning are more disturbing than really more disturbing than the war scenes.
Are
In
you a fan of those types of films, like war films?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to go more towards the Vietnam era war films for whatever reason, but I did enjoy Saving Private Ryan, which is a different time period.
Have you ever seen the film with Mel Gibson called We Were Soldiers?
That one I haven't seen.
That's one of the more like gory war films I've watched because there's some really good like makeup effects that they do is when these guys are getting like body parts blown off and stuff and during this war and it looks very realistic. I'll say that I commend them for that.
Yeah, and I mean the war stuff in Forrest Gump, I thought it was well done. Of course, that was Vietnam as well. Born on the 4th of July, I've watched.
Cruise that's a good
Yeah,
one too and
Platoon
yeah, I was
and
going to say Platoon. Yeah,
yeah, Apocalypse Now. I mean, all of those ones like that I've seen.
Apocalypse Now is such an interesting film because they talked about like when they were filming that, they. I think some of the actors, I can't remember which ones they said, but after the filming of all that, some of the actors had to go through therapy uh,
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
because of they were all in these mindset of these people that were in Vietnam and all that, and it mentally messed with them after filming.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, there are, certain movies that psychologically, I mean, I hate to say that they can be psychologically damaging, but they can be. I mean, we have heard of, not only war films, but, everybody's probably heard the stuff about Heath Ledger, and when Heath Ledger played the Joker,
Yeah,
how they believe that that affected him and more than likely led to what eventually happened to him. Um, so that stuff can take a toll depending on what role, how how someone prepares for that role, how much they get into the role. I've heard of actors that, uh, for instance, this is a comedy movie, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's not a serious movie. But when Sean Penn was in that movie as Spicoli, nobody could call him Sean. They had to call him Spicoli.
Spicoli. Yeah,
He was Spicoli that whole film.
he's one of what they call a character actor. They or method actor. I'm sorry.
Method actor. Mhm.
So it's like the same thing with Jim Carrey when he was filming Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Uh, they did a documentary talking about that called Jim and Andy on Netflix, where Jim Carrey was a method actor and he became Andy Kaufman on the set of that film, and even when cameras weren't rolling, he still stayed in character as Andy Kaufman to the point he was really annoying the crew, and
Mhm.
they talk about that in that documentary. And that's just stuff like that to me is so interesting.
Yeah.
And like with people, like it can mess with their minds and their psyche and all that after filming stuff, depending on what it is. And that kind of goes back to Secret Window too, because without giving anything away, there's a lot of like mental state type of stuff going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, And
Yeah,
yeah,
it shows you how fragile the human psyche is,
mhm.
and how some things that wouldn't break down one person's psyche, it can break down another one's, just, and shatter it,
Right.
which I don't want to keep going in that direction because we could, but I think this is a powerful movie to be not based on a novel
Mhm.
necessarily, but to be based on a story. I think that they fleshed it out really, really well. I think Johnny Depp was fantastic in it.
Yeah, Johnny Depp was. I'm a big Johnny Depp fan
Me
too,
too.
because I love, and I love the Pirates of the Caribbean films. I absolutely love them, and when he was going through all of that stuff a few years back with Amber Heard, and I just felt terrible for the guy.
I
Uh,
did too, and I'm sorry, she's a nut job.
Yeah, she ruined herself in that court case. I don't know if you followed. Me and Cass were following that court case, and it was
I
just.
saw a little bit of it because Steve will watch that stuff about it.
But he lost his deal with Disney and everything during all of that, and like I think they're trying to like work that back out now with now that all that's over with. But yeah, and it's funny because the first Pirates of the Caribbean film came out a year before Secret Window,
Hmm.
and there's little like parts in Secret Window where you can see um, Johnny Depp is like kind of quirky, and like he like washes his hands in one part of the movie, and he's like shaking them off and kind of moving around like how Jack Sparrow would do. And I thought that was kind of because I feel like they were still trying to play off the success of that character by putting like those little quirks uh, in Secret Window. So it's like
Hmm.
so that because I'm sure a lot of people after seeing the success of Pirates of the Caribbean and they seen another movie with Johnny Depp was coming out, a lot of people would probably flock to that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Candace says, I've always loved Secret Window. It's not one of my favorite Johnny Depp films, but one that I revisit from time to time. Yeah, it's one that I like to revisit from time to time as well. It's not one that I want to watch once a week or nothing like that, but I want to come back to it. I'll wait a while and then I'll come back to it again and give it another watch because I feel like Secret Window is one of those movies where you can watch it, wait a while, pull it back out, watch it again, and you will see different things every time you watch it
Yeah,
because
yeah,
so many
absolutely.
twists and turns in it.
Yeah, and Johnny Depp, is awesome in this role, and he's even more awesome after you watch it. I think a second time and you realize everything that's going on.
Oh yeah.
But other than Johnny Depp, you also have this John Turturro. I'm not sure how you say his last name.
Yeah, that's how I say it, but I don't
Um,
know if it's correct
but
or not.
I was really like intrigued to see the character that he played in this film because I know him from other stuff, from like Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and he has kind of like a comedic like slash serious role in that. But
Yeah,
most of his roles are comedic because he plays the butler in Mr. Deeds with Adam Sandler,
right.
and he's just in a lot of other stuff like that, mostly comedic roles. So to see him the kind of like sinister role that he played in Secret Window
Mm.
was like really eye opening to see that this guy had some range to his career, and his character is actually probably my favorite character in the
Mhm.
whole film.
Did you feel like, because you're pretty much centered on 2 characters during the majority of the movie, did you feel like it was like a play? Because that's how I felt.
Well, I've never thought of it like that, but yeah, I can see that in a bit. It is, yeah, because like with a play is much like how this film is
Mhm.
shot because it just goes from like one scene with these set of characters over here to back to this scene with a different set of characters, and
Mm,
it just goes back and forth.
yeah.
And most of the time, like in a play, all those things come together in the end to make sense.
It sort of reminds me, and I don't know how many of you guys in here have seen this. Um, if you do watch it, it's a film called Night Mother. Watch it when you're feeling really good. Don't watch it when you're depressed because it does have to do with suicide and things of that nature. But it it's Sissy Spacek and oh gosh, I'm completely forgetting the other lady's name that plays her mother. Well, maybe I'll think of it here in a second. But primarily, so the majority of the movie, it's Sissy Spacek and the actress playing her mother talking to each other, and Sissy Spacek tells her mother, you know, I'm preparing all your medication, mom or mother. I'm getting my affairs in order, and then I'm going to kill myself. So
Mhm.
they spend the next hour and a half or whatever with the mother trying to convince her daughter not to kill herself. And she keeps trying to put it off, put
Right.
it off. We'll have some cocoa together. We'll do this together. We'll look at old pictures together and stuff like that. But it reminded me a lot of the way that this movie, Secret Window, was set up, where you're dealing mainly with two different characters playing off of each other.
Hmm. And for anybody that's not seen the movie, I mean, um, it's not just those two characters throughout the film. I don't want to give anybody that impression because there's several other characters. Like I said earlier, the movie starts off, he's his wife has cheated on him, and they're going, and then it goes like forward a little bit. He's going and staying out at this cabin while he's going through this divorce with his wife, and he's like this famous writer, so he's out there. He's at the same time he's getting away from his wife, and because he wants to just be secluded because during this divorce, I guess, but he's also trying to, I guess, find inspiration for his new story, and he's having this writer's block, and
Mm,
then this guy shows up at the cabin, and is like accuses him of stealing his story, and
yeah.
then he's like, I don't know what you're talking about and stuff, and then it goes on. It just plays off of that relationship mainly throughout the movie, just between Johnny Depp's character and John Turturro's character.
Mhm.
But like I said, it does go back and forth to these other scenes with the wife and what they're going through and everything. There's some, but I better stop while I'm ahead because I don't want to give
That's what
away
I had
anything.
to do that to myself too. I was like, "Ah, dang it." Hey, Batman. I just wanted to make sure that I said hi to Batman. And Blissful says, now that you mention it, yes, she's probably talking about me making the comment about it being like a play. Um, and Blissful has actually met Johnny Depp, I believe, because she
Hmm.
says he's such an amazing and nice person. Blissful's met a lot of people, though. She's lucky that way.
I'd assume that he really would be because I see a lot of videos of him um, going to like children's hospitals and stuff, dressed in the Jack Sparrow character, and he just seemed like he was really appreciative of like all of his fans and supporters during that whole case he was going against Amber Heard. Um, and a lot of people turned on him before all that happened, and but there was still a lot of people out there that was loyal to him, and I think he's that's humbled him.
Hmm. And I think it probably helped him heal from a lot of that stuff, that realizing that, you know, people were on his side,
Right.
after some time. Um, But Chris, is there anything else you want to bring up about Secret Window before we go on to ratings?
No, I just ask that people give an open mind to maybe checking it out if they've not seen it, because it is especially if you're a Stephen King fan, and like I said, I see a lot of the shining in this, and I would hope there's other people out there that kind of see that too. And I think that would maybe help them appreciate this film more,
Right.
and knowing that ahead of time. So, yeah, check that movie out if you've never seen it, guys.
So I guess me and Chris will both give our ratings, and I'm not going to give it the highest rating, but I'm just going to go one down, and I'm going to give it 4 deadites out of 5 because I think it deserves all 4 of those deadites. And I would say if you've never seen it, definitely see if you can get a for free copy to watch. I'm not telling anybody to go out there and spend their hard earned cash just yet, unless you decide you really, really like it and want to own it. And if it's been a while since you've seen it, maybe pull it back off your movie shelf and give it another watch.
Yeah.
So, what's your rating, Chris, on it?
I'm probably at a 3 on this one. Now, I don't want anybody to think that that's like a bad rating, but I just put it at a 3 because while I really do enjoy this film, I'm just basing it off of like other Stephen King adaptations,
Right.
and it's not one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, but that doesn't mean that that I dislike it in any way, because there's really not a whole lot about this film that I dislike.
Mm.
I mean, is it perfect? No. Does it have its flaws? Yeah, but I don't. I'm not a type of person that like overanalyzes films. When I go into watching a movie that I've never seen before, I try to know as little about it as I can. And because I'm there to try to enjoy. I don't like going. Well, I'm gonna hate this movie. This movie's gonna be stupid. I try to give an open mind to everything that I watch like that. But yeah, I'm rambling again, Dana. But
You're
yeah,
not. You're
but
you're making perfect sense to me. So
but yeah, that's why I would put it at a 3 though.
okay, cool. Um, let's see if we got any more. Oh, Batman, are you talking about you personally, or is there been a celebrity death this past week? Because if it's a celebrity death, I'm awful about keeping up with that stuff anymore.
I did see where the guitarist, who was the band? Oh my gosh. I was just telling Candace about it the other day. But it was an older classic rock band. Their guitarist just passed away. I can't think of who it was now. Oh my gosh. I hate when it happens, Dana.
Yeah, I mean, I have trouble keeping up with all that stuff, or I'll see it in passing and then I forget. And Blissful says Cinderella.
No, it wasn't like this was like because I consider like Cinderella like hair metal, I
Mm.
guess. But no, this was an older band, older than Cinderella, and oh gosh, yeah,
Oh,
that's who it is. Dickie Betts.
Dickie
Candace just
Beds.
said it. Yeah. And who was he the guitarist for, Candace?
But while we're waiting for that, Batman said it happened to him personally. He said my nephew found the carcass of my sister's cat in the backyard.
Goodness.
Mm. Oh, from the Allman
Yeah,
Brothers.
that's who it was. The Allman Brothers. Yep.
I always loved the Allman
But
Brothers.
Super Batman nerd, I'm sorry to hear that,
Yeah,
man. That sucks. I hate that for you.
mm-mm. Yeah, that's always hard to like, especially if an animal has been missing for a while and you still have hope that it'll show back up.
And I have a really soft spot for cats too. So, and I've been through some bad stuff in the past regarding pet cats and everything. And even when I see like bad stuff happen to cats in movies, like it bothers me. And Reanimator is one of my favorite horror films. And if you know anything about Reanimator, you know about the cat in it, then
Or Rufus.
it's pretty rough.
Yeah, and like you know, I know it's obviously fake, but
Yeah.
or animatronic like things, but bringing it back twice, and after its back's broke and all that, yeah, it's still pretty rough to watch. It was like we were talking about ET last night. When you think ET is dead, you know that's not a real creature, but it seems so real.
Well, at that point, I think this is how I feel about it. I don't know about anybody else, but when you get that involved into a film and you get invested into a character, and this can be with anything, because like this was, I can use an example of this, like Stranger Things. Like
Mhm.
I love that show. It's probably one of my absolute top 5 favorite shows of all time. And some people are like, "That's crazy of all the shows." I'm like, "Yeah, I really liked it
But it's a really, really good show. I
because
mean,
there are several characters in that show that you can get invested in and you feel like you can relate to, and a lot of because they're all kind of like have these very relatable characters to their personas. And um and I think also it has to do, I'm so interested in it because it's all based in the 80s, and to
yeah,
me that will all be the greatest decade ever in my eyes. But just anything like that though, Dana, you get invested in a character and you start feeling like you can relate to them and everything. And then if something bad happens to that character in the story, some point it's going to hurt you.
yeah,
And I tell you, the worst show for that, for you to get invested in characters and start loving characters, is Game of Thrones. Um,
yeah.
that was just utter misery. I mean, I love the show. I'm not saying I was miserable watching it, but it is nobody was safe on that show.
Mhm. No, and there are shows like that you better not get to where you like somebody because when you get to liking them, they're gonna get
Yeah,
rid
yeah,
of them.
that's what I'm saying. Like you get invested in that character, and they become like possibly one of your favorite characters, and then something bad happens to them, and it just like it rips a part of you out of you. You know what I mean? And going
Yeah,
back to like when we were talking about ET, like
yeah,
that when he gets sick and then he dies
mhm,
briefly, uh, it's it it rips your heart out
yeah,
basically.
it certainly does. Which, I don't know how we can segue into Kingdom Hospital, but we're gonna Kingdom Hospital. Now, let me just say something about Kingdom Hospital here. I was very excited when I saw this advertised. I was, and I knew it was not an original Stephen King story. It was basically someone else's work that Stephen King was kind of mixing his own brand in there, so to speak. Okay. So I started out with this because this came on for more than one night, if I'm remembering correctly, when it was originally out. And I was really invested in it, talking about being invested in things. I was invested in the story of Kingdom Hospital at the beginning. But as the story went on, I seemed to lose interest in it.
Mm.
It seemed to not hold up well the longer it went on. And I don't know if anybody else that saw it felt that way about it, but it seemed like like somebody builds a castle on the beach, let's say, and they build it too near the water. where the tide's going to come in.
I know where you're going with
The
this.
tide is eventually going to wash away
Yeah.
that sandcastle. No matter how elaborately you've built it, the water is going to take it away. So that's what I felt like with Kingdom Hospital. It started out strong, it was sturdy, but it was built out of sand and it was too close to the water. Okay. If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
no, I've never seen the show at all. I mean, I know what it is, but like it's one that I know what it is, but I don't really know what it's about. Can you give me like a brief synopsis of like what without giving anything away?
Well, instead of me fumbling around here, I'll give a proper plot synopsis for it. Because I know what it's about, but sometimes when I try to do it, it doesn't work out very well. Okay. So, to start out, this was a series. They call it a TV series. I call it a mini series um, that came out in 2004. So, we've got quirky staff and patients at a main hospital, and they are indeed quirky. They gradually become familiar with the supernatural occurrences that take place there, uncovering a dark secret in the process. And you've got some great imagery. You've got some great actors and actresses. You got let's see who all we got. We got Diane Ladd. We got Bruce Davison. Um, let's see. Andrew McCarthy's in this.
Hmm.
Ed Begley Jr. I mean, so there's a lot of recognizable names in this.
So, would you say that it's kind of a mix between The Shining and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, maybe?
Mm, I wouldn't lean more towards One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Because this has a lot of creatures in it, like
Oh, okay.
imagine creatures coming out of the wall or something like that. There's a lot of
Hmm.
weirdness in this. It's not necessarily like a mental health facility type of
Okay. Okay.
scenario. But again, it could have been great. It should have been great because not only did Stephen King develop a lot of this, his wife did a story, one of the episodes. Um, but this was based on Lars von Trier's story. Okay.
Mm.
And I think that was probably part of the reason why I couldn't totally get behind it. It's not that Stephen King hasn't written about creatures coming out of the walls and weird, quirky people and all this stuff. He has written about that. And the stuff has been his own, but I think Stephen King really has a hard time adapting someone else's work, as a lot of people do. I mean, that's not a flaw on Stephen King's character. I just don't think maybe Stephen King wasn't the right person to take Lars von Trier's source material and create something out of it. Maybe that's what the problem was. Um,
I was laughing at Uncle Bill's comments. The first one he says, "If it was like The Shining, it would have a little kid with a vagina mouth." And then after what you just got finished saying, he says, "The miniseries, of course, the superior format."
are you listening to what I'm saying about this one, Uncle Bill? I'm saying it's not that great. Oh man, he's never gonna let me live that one down. Um, so I guess I don't want to say watch at your own risk if you watch it. It is worth a watch to
You know,
see. It's not horrible.
I do remember like all the promotion for that show back when it came on originally, though. Like I said, I never have watched it, but I remember seeing commercials for it all the time, and they even had like ads for it in comic books and magazines. And it was just like, I think there was in certain parts of the country, like they had like flyers of it all over town and stuff.
Mm.
And it seemed like they hyped it up a whole lot, but like I said, I can't really judge it because I've never seen it. But just based off what I've heard you say and some other people
Mm.
talk about it, it just seems like it may have been a little bit overhyped for what it was. Would you say
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I would definitely say that. You are right on the money there, Chris, was saying it was overhyped. And, every time they would show something that Stephen King was attached to, whether he was the writer of the source material or not, it's like, Stephen King,
Yeah, yeah,
author of The Shining and all this stuff, uh, brings you Kingdom Hospital. And of course, people are going to see that and say, wow, I got to watch that,
yeah. Because by the time that came out, because what was that, early 2000s?
Yeah, it was 2004.
Um, at that point, I mean, even the common fan or just the casual like person that just wasn't a fan of horror or didn't necessarily read Stephen King's books or get into his work or anything, they knew who Stephen King was though, because at that point by 2004 he had become a pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because even though, like I said, even if you weren't a horror fan, still people watched all types of movies all the time back when they came out, like, and everybody knew what Carrie was and Cujo and The Shining and Pet Cemetery. You didn't have to be a horror fan to know those. You just knew them because everybody was watching those films.
And I think too, something that they did by the time this one came out, or even maybe when the Diary of Ellen Rimbauer and Rose Red and all that, um, they would mention other Stephen King, purely Stephen King miniseries of the past, like It and the Tommy Knockers
Mm-hmm.
and uh, Storm of the Century and The Stand, and that he had something to do with.
What
And
year did Storm of the Century come out?
when did it come out?
Yeah, did it come out before Kingdom Hospital?
Yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
did because I've already talked about that one.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite Stephen King miniseries.
It's my mom's favorite. Now, The Stand, I think, is my favorite, but
The Stand was my favorite up until I seen Storm of the Century.
for the century, that's right. See, my mom never really cared much for The Stand, but The
Mm.
Stand was me and my dad and my brother's movie. We watched that every night that it was on.
You know what the part about The Stand that stands out the most to me is the character of I can't think of the actor's name, but he was in Coach, and he's like the voice of Patrick on SpongeBob. I think
Mhm.
his name is Bill Fagerbaki or something like that. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but he's the one that always was his character's what stood out the most because he would always say MOON. That's
Yeah,
still
yeah, but
whatever.
everybody
He would say it was MOON was for everything. He spelled it out for.
everybody loved that character. I mean, I don't know anybody that didn't like that character.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it so well too. Tom Cullen, that was the character's name.
Okay, yeah, and I think for some reason it's been a long time since I've watched The Stand. But is it Rob Lowe, the one that plays the character that's mute?
Yeah, he plays Nick Andros.
Yeah, I really liked his character a lot too. And if you not to give anything away, but the way things happen for his character in the end is very sad, and I hated it that what happened with him and everything. But he pretty much saved them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Candace and Batman both Bill
Yeah,
Fagerback or
I don't know. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. I said Fagerbaki or something. I'm sure I'm butchering that. But
it's spelled Fagerbake. So
yeah,
take that for what it's worth, guys and gals.
and I just seen Uncle Bill's comments, Moon. That spells a shot of
And
Benny.
he's like, "See what I did there?" Uh, let me tell you, guys and gals, Uncle Bill has the heart and the sense of humor of a child. Literally, literally, I mean that. And see, I'm just busting your balls too, Uncle Bill.
He's a stone cold killer, ain't he, Dana?
Yeah. Batman said that Storm of the Century came out in 1999.
Oh,
So
okay. Wow, I didn't think it came out in the '90s. I thought it was like early 2000s. But wow, that's good to know, man.
I didn't call you childish. I called you childlike, Uncle Bill. There's a distinction there. I wasn't being mean. How long have we known each other, Uncle Bill? I'm not a mean person. Chris knows I'm not mean. Candace knows I'm not mean.
Of what we know,
You don't have to live with me, so yeah. Ask Steve about it on a bad day. He'll tell you all about it. Mm.
Steve just
But
Steve's grumpy about everything. There ain't nothing I ask him about.
poor Steve, he ain't even here to defend himself, is he? He's probably in there snoring right now with his sleep mask on, his CPAP mask. Poor guy, he's got to wear that now.
Oh man.
Um, that's worse, Blissful, the calling him childlike. Uncle Bill knows I'm yanking the chain. Um, he's been asleep since 3:30. Lord, I hope not, because if he does that too many times, he'll get in trouble at work. Well, actually, that's when he gets off from work. He would miss his time to get out of there if he fell asleep then. But oh gosh, dreaming about grapes and nuns. Oh my gosh. Um, but anyway, to get back on track, what we're talking about here, I'll go ahead and give my rating for Kingdom Hospital, and I'm gonna give it a 3 deadites out of 5 as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch these series and these prequels and stuff like because I've not seen Diary of Ellen Rimbauer. I've not seen Rose Red. I've not seen Kingdom Hospital, but I would love to go and check them out now and then let you know sometime later on down the road
Oh yeah,
what I thought of those.
we could do like a second episode where Chris talks about his thoughts and can give his rating
Like a
on the.
Stephen Kingdom flashback
Yeah,
or
yeah, we
something.
could do that. Because I'm going to be doing, some watch along rewinds and things like that, and probably going to go back and there's a few Stephen's Kingdoms and Everybody Wants England's that I'm going to do rewinds on too.
I said,
Uh,
Blissful said, "Oh my God, super Batman nerd! I thought you meant the cereal because he said grapes and nuns, and
that's what
then
I was thinking
cereal
about
with
too.
grapes and nuts." That's so funny.
Has anybody, speaking of grape nut cereal, has anybody ever ate that stuff? I've never ate it. I just
No,
wondered if it was any good or not.
I don't know. But
The you're Batman. You're wondering if the Devils is Steve's fave. You know what, guys and gals? Unless Steve has changed his mind over the years, here's something that'll knock your socks off. If you haven't heard me say this, do y'all know what Stephen King's all of Stephen King? I got Stephen King on the brain. My Steve's all-time favorite movie is.
his all-time favorite movie. Let me take a guess.
Okay.
Um, is it Is it a horror film?
No.
It's not. Is it a comedy?
No, I wouldn't call this one a comedy.
Hmm. I don't know. I can't think of anything.
It is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That blew me away when Steve told me that was
And
his favorite movie.
Candace said shallow.
And Blizzle said, "Oh, Yeller." No, not Grapevine Angel 2, Grape Bliss.
That was I have to give. That's good. That was a good one.
Oh, man. Blissel says grape nuts is like eating cardboard. So, yeah, I don't
Oh,
think I want to eat grape
oh,
nut cereal then. Oh, man.
I don't think so.
But Candace loves grape nuts, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Candace likes a lot of stuff that I wouldn't necessarily like. Like Candace, she'll buy those little packs of seaweed, and she loves it. I don't know how she eats it. I mean, because I eat sushi,
Mm.
but like it's the sushi that I eat has very little seaweed on it. Because I'm not a fan of that. But everybody has different taste buds. And that's just how things work.
Well, see, I like real salty stuff. That's why I like olives and things like
Hmm.
that. Every time I mention olives, though, like if Wes was in here, he'd be like, "Oh, don't talk about olives." Uh, Candace says, "Leave my nori alone, Chris."
Yeah, that's the seaweed that she buys.
But I think the seaweed, Candace, in that seaweed, isn't it real salty, or am I mistaken on that? Uncle Bill, olives do not taste like markers. Have you ate markers? For that matter, I haven't ate markers, but I'm pretty dang sure that olives do not taste like
Yeah,
markers.
Candace loves olives for sure. Like she eats them like
She
candy.
says she's obsessed with them. Yeah, me and her are both alike on the olive thing. And it doesn't matter if they're green olives or black olives. I love both of them. Go eat ya Sharpie. Uncle Bill. Mm-mm. Candace says she puts them in all her drinks. Well, here's something that might weird some of you guys and girls out would be that I have in the past drank pickle juice. Just dill pickle juice. I poured it in a jar and drank it.
Yeah, Candace has two. Candace has got like 20 jars of pickles in the refrigerator right now.
Good
That
question,
that
Batman. How would Uncle Bill know what a marker tastes? He eats markers for fun.
but that's no exaggeration. And Candace will probably get mad at me for telling that, but like, and they're not. All those jars of pickles are not of the same. They're like all these different types of pickles. Like, I don't even know. Like she's got, like the she could tell you probably some names. I'm not good with it because I don't even like pickled stuff really anyway. So
But so another thing that I do that kind of it definitely grosses Steve out is I put ketchup on a lot of stuff. I will put
mm,
I'll dip plain potato chips in ketchup, and sometimes I'll mix like chili powder in the ketchup. I'll put a little pickle juice in the ketchup. Put a bunch of seasonings on my spice
that
rack.
you and Candace are about exactly the same because Candace likes that stuff too. She loves ketchup on about everything, and I like ketchup too. But she eats a lot of ketchup with stuff, and it was really on one of our first dates, we went to eat at Dairy Queen, and she got a burger, and she almost covered almost the whole thing in ketchup, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's a lot of ketchup."
Well,
But
I'll put it on macaroni and cheese. I'll put it on
yeah,
grilled
yeah, she
cheese.
does on everything. She loves it, and it's odd to me that like you think about every kid growing up loves ketchup, especially like French fries with ketchup stuff like that. Our nephew Raiden he will not eat ketchup at all. And I just
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I think that's probably the first kid I've ever known that doesn't eat ketchup. But he doesn't really like any kind of sauce, like not just ketchup, but he doesn't like barbecue sauce. He doesn't like ranch. I don't believe. Just all that stuff. I don't know if it's just what it is, but like it's back to what I was saying that everybody has different taste buds, and we can't always. We don't have to understand it. It's just how things are.
Blizzle says, I used to resent olives because they took up too much room in the martinis. Yeah, they took up the space where you could put more booze in there, right? Uh, Batman, I don't. Green beans taste like hairy legs.
The
Oh,
what?
I love green beans. Steve hates green beans unless they're those green beans that you find on the Chinese buffets. He likes
Mm.
those, but regular green beans, no.
Yeah, that's not something I'm big on either. I know that's another thing that Candace does love is green beans, but that's something I'll eat them. I
You
mean, I
gotta
don't.
fix them right. You gotta fix them right.
I'm
You
not
gotta fix 'em.
disgusted by them or anything, but I mean, but it's just not something I particularly like to say. Hey, you want some green beans? That's what we got. That's all we got to eat tonight. I'd probably be like, nah, I'm good.
I think Steve just hasn't had good green beans before. I said, Steve, it's all how you season them. You gotta season them real good. And here's a tip for you guys and gals that haven't tried this. My mom always put bacon grease in her green beans and garden green beans, fresh out of the garden green beans. Those are the best. You have, and how many of y'all know what new potatoes are? Chris,
Yeah,
you've heard the term new
I
potato.
know what it is, but I couldn't because I know I've heard Candace talk about it, and she's probably made them in the past, but I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head right now what they are.
Yeah. Basically, what I remember new potatoes as being is when Dad would get these small potatoes out of the garden, these small round potatoes. And Mom and Dad always called those new potatoes. And he would bring those in, and Mom would, peel them and all that stuff, and she'd cook them with the green beans. And you'd have green beans and new potatoes, and it was
Oh, okay.
green.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, yeah. We eat those all the time.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's just because 'cause we're Southern people or
Yeah.
what it is. If you talk to somebody up in Michigan, I bet about new potatoes, they look at you like you put your clothes on sideways or
Yeah, they're
something
too
like that.
busy eating Grey Poupon and caviar probably or
It'd be
something.
too fancy for us. Oh, man. Um, Uncle Bill, evidently, he would drink pickle juice. He says he loves pickles. So, but he says the ketchup thing. He says, "Dana, that's just gross." God, you share Steve's sentiment on there. Candace says I drink pickle juice all the time. My whole bottom shelf of my refrigerator is filled with every pickle you can think of.
I
Pickled
told you I wasn't
cauliflower.
kidding. I was
She's
not
got
kidding.
pickled cauliflower, carrots, okra, green beans, eggs, wieners. I have never tried Kool-Aid pickles, Batman. I have not.
Candace did this one thing. I think she saw it on like Pinterest or something, where these people were taking these big, huge dill pickles and wrapping them, wrapping fruit roll ups around them. And
Oh,
she tried that and she said it was really good. I think I might have took I can't remember if I did or not. I think I might have took a small bite of it because I like I said I don't really even like pickles at all.
mhm.
But I was curious. I was like, I know what a pickle tastes like though. I mean, I like fruit roll ups, and it seems like that was a long time ago, but it seems like it was not that bad. Um, but it's not something I would sit and eat all the time or anything, though.
Uncle Bill says, I'll tell you one thing I hate bread and butter pickles. God, pisses me off just thinking those exist.
Candace said she doesn't like them either.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a fan of bread and butter pickles. Dill pickles, no, that's a whole different story. I love dill. Um, let's see.
Ooh, gosh, I'm sorry, but I just seen a comment. It's Batman. There's his Uncle Bill. How about sausage and biscuits with mustard? Listen,
Oh,
don't,
no.
I don't even. I love sausage and biscuits, but I don't like mustard. I can't eat it. It really makes me. I'm not as bad as I used to be. It used to be like if I would get like a cheeseburger or something from a restaurant, and then I'd ask, to not put mustard on it, but they give it to you that does have mustard on it. And if I just tasted a
Mm.
bit of that mustard on a burger, I wouldn't be able to eat the rest of the burger. And
Mhm. That's
can
like my Uncle Scotty and mayonnaise. He can't stand mayonnaise on anything.
see, I used to not. I used to be the opposite of that too. Like I used to not be able to stand mayonnaise. I could it would like if I just get like a little bit of taste of it, it would gross me out. But now I love it. I eat it on like burgers and sandwiches and stuff. Um, and it don't bother me. Whenever I order, like there's a place down the road here called Hot Rods,
Mhm.
and to me they have like the best steak and cheese hoagies anywhere around here right now.
That sounds good.
And but all I get on mine is just the meat, the cheese, and mayonnaise,
Mhm.
and they're so good though. Like yes, they're primarily like a pizza place. They're in the old Pizza Hut building down here that had like a buffet and stuff. So Hot Rods does a buffet too. They put a lot of different stuff out, and like I said, it's just right down the road from us. It's a really good place. If you're ever in Hazard, Dana, I recommend checking it out.
Well, if I could ever get Steve to Hazard, then I'd say, let's go eat at
Just
Hot
warn
Rod.
you, if you guys do come here, there ain't a lot here. It ain't that exciting.
Well, I might like that after living in Louisville for as many years as I've lived in this big old metropolis. But uh, oh, I'm loving it. People know what, even Lori, who lives or Blissful, sorry, Blissful, who lives in upstate New York, knows about new potatoes. I love that. Um, Candace says we eat new potatoes all the time.
Mm,
Blissful says new potatoes are delicious. Uncle Bill says, of course, love new potatoes. These are my people in here. Y'all are all my people, talking about these new potatoes. Batman says, for I would personally try hot and spicy pickles covered in hot sauce and vinegar. Well, that might be interesting. That'd be better than the mustard thing, I
oh, yeah.
think. Candace says they're the little whitish potatoes that we put in the green beans, Chris.
Yeah, I know that now. When Dana was describing it with the green beans and stuff, it didn't click. I was like, oh, okay, I know what those are.
Hmm. Uncle Bill says, yep, my grandma did that too. Um, Blissful says, I'm a Yankee and I love new potatoes. Well, God bless you, Blissful, because not too many Yankees probably even know what a new potato is. Um, yeah, I gotta skip. Sorry, Batman, I gotta skip past the sausage and biscuit with mustard there. Mm. Candace says my papa used to put mustard in his homemade gravy and biscuits. Now, of course, I could tell you some things that like my dad's dad ate, like eating squirrel brains and stuff like that. My papa used to eat squirrel brains. You wouldn't catch me eating that.
No, not a chance.
I used to eat squirrel meat when Dad used to squirrel hunt a lot when I was a kid, but I ain't eating no brains. Sorry.
I've never had squirrel. I mean, like as far as any kind of like wild animals like that I've had. Like I've had deer
Mm.
jerky. I've had I got this buffalo jerky once
Oh, I've never
at,
had
at
that.
a festival that we have over here in Hazard, and I've had like, gator meat. Gator meat is the best meat I've ever had.
I want to eat. I want to eat gator meat. There's a place. up the road a piece out on Bardstown Road called the Hungry Pelican, and I
Mm.
think they have gator meat at
Yeah,
times.
me and Cass, the first time we ever ate it was when we were on our honeymoon down in New Orleans, and we were at like the because we went to WrestleMania while we were down there too, and one of the things we were at for it was like it was kind of like a WrestleMania like convention thing called WrestleMania Access. Well, they had a bunch of like food truck stuff set up there, and the one we went to had like they were big sausages like on like a big hot dog on a bun and something, but it was gator meat.
Huh,
And
interesting.
at first we were kind of like, I don't know about
I
that.
don't know if I want to eat
And
that.
then Candace was like, well, let's just get it. We gotta try it because just see what it's like at least. And I was like, okay. And it ended up being, like I said, the best meat I've ever had.
Well, I mean, I would definitely be willing to try it, but I don't know if Steve would try it or not. Steve's not extremely picky, but there's certain things he just like, I ain't even going to try that. Which, speaking of funny things about my husband, since he's asleep and can't defend himself, when we were dating, and here's how great my parents are. Well, how great my mom was. My dad didn't want to do it. But when me and Steve first started dating and we were getting serious and stuff, the first Valentine's Day we spent together, mom talked to dad and said that they were going to go and stay at a hotel and let me and Steve have the house for the weekend. Now, how many parents would do that? Now, granted, it wasn't like I was 16 years old or anything like that. I was in my 30s and Steve was in his 40s, or mid to late 40s or whatever. But uh, we, we were grown adults. My mom wouldn't have done this if I was 16. She wouldn't have said, sure, David, have your boyfriend over and we'll just leave the house. No, I don't want anybody thinking any kind of weirdness was going on there. But so dad would get a lot of his deer meat processed into different things like jerky or summer sausage or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he would also get something that we just called deer sticks, where they were like big beef sticks is what
Oh,
we
I like deer jerky. Okay.
yeah. And Steve was like, he was either hanging out in my bedroom or in the living room. And I went in the kitchen and I was feeling hungry, just wanted a little something to snack on. I remembered Dad had just had some deer meat processed.
Hmm.
And we had those deer sticks in there. And so I just stuck one in my mouth and was closing the refrigerator door. And Steve come around the corner. He said, oh my God, what is that? I said, "It's a deer stick." I said, "You want one?" He's like, "No, I don't want one of those."
Why did it terrify him?
So funny about it.
The way you described it is like you thought he would have saw a ghost or something. It's like, what is that?
Or I had somebody's severed finger in my mouth or something. It's like, what?
Um, I see a question here in the chat I wanted to address that the mayor asked. Crater, are you wearing a Vincent Price shirt? Actually, yes, I am. It's a mix between the Muppet Show and Vincent Price, and
Oh, that's cool.
it's got I think his name is oh my gosh, it's Uncle Deadly. Uncle Deadly from the Muppet Show on there, and then there's a few other ones. I'm not sure what those characters are, but yeah. And if you remember, he was on Vincent Price was on the Muppet Show. I think
Mhm.
it's like the haunted house skit that they did on the Muppet Show once, and that's another one of my favorite things is the Muppets. That's and Candace's too. Like we both love the Muppets, and and when you have Vincent Price, which is one of my favorite horror people of all time, you mix that with something else I love. Of course, I'm going to get a shirt of it.
It's exactly. I love that shirt though. That's cool. Um, Mayor, you don't know what a new potato is? Well, here in a nutshell, I'll give you some Southern education here, Mayor. A new potato, this is the best way I describe it, is these small, about, I'm talking about yay big, um, really round, really white potatoes. And we would always get them fresh out of the garden. And that's what my parents called new potatoes, and what my grandparents called new potatoes as well. And my mom would cook those with green beans. So we'd have green beans and new potatoes sometimes. So that in a nutshell is what a new potato is. Mayor says he's had kangaroo jerky.
Yeah, I have to. That's another one. I almost forgot about that one. Yeah, I've had that one too. It was interesting. It was. I remember the kangaroo jerky that we ate was really spicy for some reason.
I would have to forget that it came from a kangaroo before I could eat it. It's like me and lamb. I love the taste of lamb, but I just can't think about where it came from. You know.
I don't know why. I don't know why it is, Dana, but it just that kind of stuff just intrigues me. Like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm sure someone said, "Here, I have this hippopotamus jerky for sale." I'd be like, "Sure, let's try it."
Let's try.
Um, what does that say about me?
Well, no, I don't think it makes you a bad person or anything. It means you're adventurous in your food
I
choices.
guess so.
Candace says, "Oh goodness, Nanny, you have to try gator." Well, if I
Mm.
can get Steve to take me to the Hungry Pelican sometime, I can try me some gator. Uncle Bill says Steve only likes dry cereal, water, and Japanese orgy eels. What the heck? Well, no, never mind. I don't want to know what a Japanese orgy eel is. Don't
Steve
tell me.
knows. Steve knows.
Oh. Batman said, should have told Steve that it was a Macho Man Randy Savage Slim Jim. Yeah, I don't think he would have believed it, though. But something else I did to him, and I did this to him on purpose, and I should be ashamed. He never wanted to eat deer meat. So
Mm.
unknowingly,
He's missing out, Dana.
unbeknownst to him, my mom gave me some ground deer meat, ground venison, and sent it home with me. And so this is when I was working part time. So I was home a lot more. And so I decided I was going to mix up this venison meat
I
and
knew that's where it's going.
and Steve was at work, mind you, so he didn't know that this wasn't ground beef. So I, had them all fried up. Steve comes home, sits down on the couch, and I said, "You want you a burger?" "Yeah, yeah, give me a burger." And then I brought it to him. He took a couple of bites of it. I was standing there in the kitchen watching him in the living room. I said, "How's that burger, Steve?" "Oh, it's pretty good." I said, "You know you're eating deer meat, right?" He said, "I knew there was something different about this burger."
Uh, Candace has done the same stuff to me, and I'm actually kind of thankful for it because if she hadn't kind of swindled me into eating some stuff, I probably would never touch it. To be honest with you, because something I didn't eat for the longest time was tomatoes.
Mhm.
And I just didn't want to eat tomatoes. I don't know. I didn't never really ate them before. I mean, other than just ketchup and stuff, but like not like straight tomatoes. Um, but Candace made some fried green tomatoes one time earlier on in our relationship, and I didn't even know she was making them. She made them and she brought them to me. She's here, try this. I said, what is it? Because I couldn't tell because it was all deep fried. It was just something I didn't know it was a tomato inside. But she just try it. I said, but what is it? She just don't worry about it. I'll tell you in a minute. Just try it. And I'm like, all right, gosh. And I bit into it and I loved it. And I was like, what
Mhm.
is it? She said, a tomato. I'm
I
like,
wish I could have been a fly on the wall
and
then.
I was like, really? And then now fried green tomatoes is one of my favorite foods. So
Yeah. Yeah. See, sometimes you just got to get somebody to try something.
yeah,
And once you get them to try it, I mean, they may hate it. They may
yeah,
still not like it, but there is a chance that they will like it.
that's
But
how I am with mustard. Like I've tried it, but I don't want to eat it anymore because I don't
mhm.
like it.
Candace said, I agree with Steve. No deer meat. But then she laughed because she said Dana set Steve up. Yeah, I did. I did that time. I definitely did. Um, well, I mean, we've had a very lively discussion about Stephen King film adaptations and otherwise, but I was thinking if Chris wants to stay on till about 9:50,
I can
about
stay on as long as
four,
you need me to, Dana.
4 minutes from now, but I've been sipping on this dang thing, my baby bottle, and I'll probably need to go to the restroom. So, um, y'all don't want to see Dana make a puddle under her computer chair. So,
Did you have any more of your leftover chili today to dine on?
I didn't, but I think I'm gonna have me some tomorrow because it's calling to me. It's calling to me. Um, but if anybody has any questions for me or Chris, please keep it clean though. But if you have any clean questions to ask us, feel free. And Mayor, if you're still in here, I did say this earlier, but I'll say it for your benefit because you actually expressed an interest in coming on the next time we had a vinyl collectors show. And me and Candace are going to have a part 2 of the vicious vinyl collecting and more. So, get your stuff together. And that not only includes the mayor, but anybody else that wants to come on and show some things off. Um,
Candace put a comment, and I'll tell this story.
oh,
He says, "Remember the time that you thought I was eating cheese dip, Chris, and took a pretzel and ate it and found out it was a big gob of mustard?" Okay, so Candace swears up and down that she didn't do this on purpose, but I think otherwise because she knew I didn't like mustard, and she knows that I like to eat pretzel sticks with cheese. So
mhm.
she came to me one time in the living room while I was sitting there, and it was kind of dark, so I couldn't see like a real good anyway in the living room. And she comes in there and she says, "Want one?" And she holds out a pretzel stick, and to me, it looks like it's got cheese on it. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I grab it and I take a bite, and I go, um, "Wait a minute, that's not cheese. That's mustard." She goes, "Well, I thought you knew that." I was like, "Candace, come on. You know I don't like mustard." And she swears that she didn't do that
He
intentionally.
says we had just started dating. I had no idea
Ah, bull.
yet. She says you freaked out, Chris.
Probably did. I probably did because I that's the thing. As far as like tasting anything, that's what I hate the most is probably mustard. I don't know
Yeah,
why
I'm
that is.
not a fan of mustard, and I'll say it again. I've never ate dirt, but mustard appears to me to be something that would taste like dirt. How I would imagine dirt to
Yeah, I
taste.
remember you said I can't remember if that was last night or the night before. You were comparing it to that, and that's very. Uh, I've never heard anybody compare mustard to dirt.
That's what I've always said about it, and Steve looks at me like I flipped my lid because he loves mustard. He loves it on everything, just about. So Candace, Chris started spitting it out.
I did, yeah, and because like you just, I guess you just have to know how I am when it comes to that because I'm sure you're like that with some stuff that you really dislike the taste of too. I'm sure everybody's like that.
Well, Batman, if sausage and biscuits with mustard is a true Southern treat, I'm gonna have to turn in my Southerner card, I guess, because I won't eat that.
Well, I tell you something I do like eating with sausage and biscuits, and it may sound gross to some people, but I put peanut butter on sausage and biscuits, and
Well, I don't know. That's interesting,
but
though.
I love peanut butter on just about anything. I don't know why. I just do. And I thought for the longest time that I was just some like singled out weirdo that liked that kind of stuff until like a few months ago, Sonic, the restaurant Sonic, actually had a peanut butter and bacon burger,
Huh.
which I did try that. And it was okay. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be. It definitely wasn't worth $6. Um, but yeah, but
I don't think no burger's worth $6, actually.
I think everybody likes, odd stuff
Mhm.
somewhere here or there as far as, food goes, but
Candace
uh,
says she can eat mustard by itself, and she also says, "I'm that way with hominy. I remember eating it when I was a kid and nearly passed out."
mhm,
See, I never liked grits. Now, I like cream of wheat, I like oatmeal, but
mhm.
grits, no.
Yeah, I think I'm about the same way too. Like I like oatmeal, but I've had grits and um my mom would always say though, like the only way she could eat grits is if she just put a whole bunch of sugar in it.
Mhm.
Um,
Some people eat it with just butter, and I'm like, "Ugh." I don't know. I just can't do that. Mayor says, Dana, you need to get Steve a bacon peanut butter burger. Nah, I'm afraid he wouldn't eat it, Mayor, because he hates bacon for one thing.
that's un American, Dana.
That's what I try to tell him, but he don't listen to me. Candace says hominy tasted like bile. Ooh, God.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think I've ever had like not plain hominy. I think I've had maybe hominy in some kind of soup, and it's okay like that. But I've never ate just plain hominy. Batman says, "Nah, you really want to know what gross thing I used to eat? Mustard, ketchup, and cocoa powder sandwich."
Hmm. Wow, that's out there. I've never heard anything like that. That's interesting though.
We should have a stream sometime. Maybe me and Candace need to do a Friday Foolish sometime and talk about all the weird or unusual things.
Yeah, you could call it like gross gourmet or something like that.
What do you think about that, Candace? Should we do that upcoming for one of the Friday Foolish episodes? Blissful said, "My dad always had sausage gravy on his pancakes." Yeah, a lot of people like to mix that sweet stuff with the more savory type of
That
stuff.
sounds really interesting. I might try that sometime.
Candace says she's all for it. Well, you guys and gals look forward to an upcoming episode of Friday Foolish where me and Candace are gonna pull out all the stops and you guys can share stuff in the chat or people can come in live on the stream with us and talk about these unusual things that we like to eat.
And while we're on the subject of food and stuff, and I wanted to mention that going back to horror a little bit, like I when I there is a scene in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 where Freddy's dressed up as a chef and everything, and I think the girl's name is Greta, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure, and he's like stuffing her face with all that food and everything. After I first saw that as a kid, I don't think I ate for like 2 or 3 days
Oh my gosh.
because I was so disgusted by that, and I couldn't look at food for a couple days.
Well, that's a disgusting scene. I have to agree with that. Um, But guys and gals, it has been really, really fun tonight. We had a great conversation all the way around. But I really am going to have to run to the restroom and take care of the guinea pigs several different other things before I settle down for the
Same
night.
here. Same here.
And we most of us have work, and if we don't have, a 9 to 5 job, we have a sun up to sun down type of job. The ladies that have to take care of a household and all that. I mean, there was a saying that my mom always said, and it's true, and I believe it more now than I ever did in my life. When I was a kid, I just thought mom was being silly, but she says, a man's work is from sun to sun. A woman's work is never done.
Oh yeah, I've heard that saying before.
Mhm. And that's an old fashioned saying. It's not like it's something that my mom came up with, but it's never been truer than
But
after.
it's a good one. It's a good one to recite. It is because it. You know, I wholeheartedly believe that because Candace. I would tell you like some of the stuff that she does for this family. I don't know how she does it all. Like because there's a lot she sacrifices for, and
Mhm.
it's very that statement's very true. That a woman, especially a mother or somebody or a wife, mother, any way you look at it, they're always working.
Yeah.
They're always doing something to keep the cog wheels going.
Of course, sometimes when my mom was aggravated, she said, I couldn't even afford to be dead. She said, if I was dead, somebody would try to revive me or something like that to have me do something for them. That's when she got really aggravated, though. But Candace says, this has been an amazing stream, guys. A lot of fun. I had a lot of fun tonight. And
That too. I'm really glad I came on here and joined you, Dana.
well, I'm glad you did too, and I'm thankful for everybody that came and spent time with us in the chat. I think we may have had 20, but I know we had close to 20 at some points and times in here.
Yeah, I've seen that. I know it's showing 14 right now for me. I don't know if it shows the same
Yeah.
for you, but yeah, I would really appreciate everybody coming here and joining Dana's stream and chatting with us. I had a lot of fun talking to everybody, seeing Uncle Bill and Candace and Super Batman Nerd and Blissful and just everybody, just the mayor, everybody that's been in here. I really appreciate you guys.
Yes, we most certainly do, and I hope everybody will join me and whoever's on here with me for Everybody Wants England tomorrow night. We will, in case anybody's thinking about if they want to join in or not. I will be covering the Mangler again. I've already covered it for Stephen's Kingdom, but we got to cover it for Everybody Wants England as well. Mortal Fear and the Unspoken Truth. Hopefully, I'll be able to find those the movies Mortal Fear and the Unspoken Truth to watch. And also, I will be making uh, or I'll be talking a little bit about Chud 2, Bud the Chud. And Robert England's blinking, you'll miss him appearance. He
Oh,
has
you decided to cover that one? I thought you was going to leave that one out. Did you just change your mind?
I did because I found out it was on Tubi, and I just sat down one night and I thought I'm just going to watch this dang thing, and I did, and I didn't just watch the Robert England part. I watched the whole dang thing. So
Did you like it at least?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was goofy and stuff. It wasn't serious like the first Chud movie was.
Mhm.
Um, but I had fun with it. I just, watched it and didn't, it's not meant to be taken seriously,
Right.
obviously.
Well, I mean, when you have the name Bud the Chud, I mean, that's
Yeah,
already a comical name for a film like Chud 2, Bud the Chud.
it's, you should know what you're getting into with a
Yeah, I mean
title like
that's
that.
kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, Batman, I would agree with you. It's more of a zombie movie than a Chud movie.
Hmm.
And Batman also says we appreciate you guys too, Chris. So
Awesome. Yeah,
we
awesome. I appreciate
appreciate you
that.
saying that, Batman. And he says there's 9 likes. So the likes have went up over the last few streams I've done. And I think it's due to Chris and Candace being on here, or
Now,
when
Dana,
Uncle Bill was on here that time. And uh,
you can't discredit yourself like that, Dana, because
I think
this
I'm
is
boring.
that's. I mean, these people that are in the chat right now, they were coming to your channel before I was even on your channel. So I mean, you're the reason why everybody's here.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Chris. And Candace is always, making me feel good too and blissful. And, you know, uh, everybody that's in here now is very, very supportive. Uh, Mayor says, you're definitely not going to mistake Bud the Chud with my dinner with
With
Andre.
Andre.
Oh, you will not. You definitely will not. So, anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out and spending time with me and Chris as we navigated through not only some Stephen King film adaptations, but favorite unique or strange foods that we like. That was a fun, sub conversation to this whole stream. See, that's what you never know what it's like, a box of chocolates in Forrest Gump. You never know what you're going to get with these streams. We may talk all about movies, or we may talk about food or clothes, or any
Yeah,
number of
and our conversations always come full circle because you just referenced Forrest Gump, and we were talking about Forrest Gump and war movies earlier. I mean, everything comes full circle here on Evil Dead Chicks channel.
yeah, yeah. And just watch a few streams and see if that doesn't happen. I think it'll happen more often than not.
Oh, it does.
But I just want to say again, thank you, everybody, and me and Chris are going to skedaddle on out of here for the night because work comes early, doesn't it,
Oh,
Chris?
yeah. Yes, yes, it does.
And we'll be dragging ourselves back to our place of employment, which in my case is my desk back here. So.
Yeah, me too. I have to wander just about 50 yards from our bedroom to my office. So.
Exactly. Yeah, this is my home office back here. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here and say goodnight. But I just want to remind everybody: be kind to one another and blaze that trail. I'm gonna have to make a shirt
You
with
got
that.
to,
It's
because I used that quote the other day. I was like, to
you
quote my
did.
good friend Dane, I put that on Facebook, and I was like, because that's a good one. That deserves a saying on a T-shirt, Dana.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that because that one, I just pulled that one out of my head one day. I don't want to say I pulled it out of my butt, but I pulled it out of my head one day. And Candace says, please do. She's wanting me to make a shirt with that. Yeah, maybe I can put it on the shop, and people can pick up their very own copy of that. But anyway, we're out of here for tonight. It is a little bit after 10 Eastern time, 10:04 to be exact. And we're going to get out of here, and we'll see everybody next time.
All
So
right, bye,
bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a good night.